together.
Move to the beat of just one drum. And he just smokes.
Right, are we ready then?
Ready. A man's search for a stolen artifact leads him to a haunted town filled with voodoo gangsters, masked adventurers, Depression-era private eyes, and violent chiaroscuro women. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 101, The Show.
Spotlight on the show. You're taking too many stops and you couldn't even get spotlight.
I didn't write spotlight down on my script.
What do you need to?
It doesn't matter.
Hello and welcome to the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 101. We made it, boys. We're in the room. And this episode,
We literally are back in the room.
Spotlight is on the show. More on that later.
What, Cult Faction?
Excuse
Podcast?
me. I said that.
No, is it on this show?
No, the show is a film.
Okay.
And to kick off then, we're all back. We're back indoors. The sun is still around, but we keep getting bit by mozzie, so we ran indoors.
Actually, I just couldn't be asked to set out.
Well, there's that as well. Many factors influence how we produce the show and bring it to you on YouTube, where you can watch it on video, and on digital, where you can hear it, and we're coming in your ears.
Oh, no, we're not. We don't do that.
Just like
Although we're
Not
missing,
anymore. I've got an injunction out of me.
we're missing a trick because obviously I have to watch a lot of YouTube because of the
Hang
little
on, before
one.
we go any further, we've done it again. There's been no introductions.
Oh no, I've got that. It's all
Okay.
right. I was gonna steer it back. It's all right. I'm in
Okay.
control. I've got it. Carry on, Paul.
Because what they do, like every 5 minutes, they go, don't forget to click on the like, click on the subscribe. Okay, so maybe every 5 minutes, Brett, you just have like, subscribe.
Click!
Ow, no, don't shout at
No.
them. No,
I'll get some signs made.
Yeah.
Every now and then
Like.
go like that.
subscribe.
Click on this. Like, subscribe. Click on this.
Visit
Sponsor us.
the merch store.
Send us money.
It's all about the merch.
Except we have no more expert store.
That-
And you
well,
can't sponsor us.
we've got our used T-shirts. We've got 3 of them.
Collector's items, they are.
Yeah.
And that white one we put water on for that competition we had.
We don't talk about it.
But anyway, steering this insanity through a river of randomness is myself, Brett Summers.
Yes, you're right. You are Brett Summers. I am Paul Hawkins.
And I'm Damien Hicks. And
And
it's going to be one of those nights, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
I miss the days when I used to drink doing this.
I don't.
We don't know. One time you walked off and didn't come back.
Well, that, to be fair, that was a Christmas special.
That was New Year, wasn't it?
Well, Christmas
Either way,
slash
it's a holiday
New Year's.
special.
Yeah.
And yes, you did
But
disappear.
we were
I might do that in a couple of weeks though, when I don't have anything big on at work the next day or something,
Fair enough.
or take a day off.
So,
Take a day off just so you can get pissed to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I
So-
like your style.
apart from what's happening in the future, what have we been up to in the past this week, gentlemen?
Not a lot. I collapsed from exhaustion on the day after we recorded last week's podcast.
That's right, fellow
holiday
listeners
bed.
and watchers. He puts so much blood, sweat, and tears into producing the show, he collapses.
Yeah.
So,
It's quite scary, actually, to be fair. I cannot underestimate how...
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Coming to you live from the hospital, Damien. Collapse.
we'll have the footage online soon. So what happened? Where were you? What?
I'd just taken the kids to nursery the next morning and then came back to start work and just
Oh, cool. So
zonked out on the chair there.
you made it back then, because that would have been really bad.
Yeah. But the only way I can describe it is close to how I felt when I had COVID the first time round, when it was like a real thing, not like it is now. And It was fun. Other than that, went to barbecue on Saturday. That was nice. And that's it. That's been my week.
Cool. Paul, have you collapsed anywhere?
No. No.
Oh, well done.
I did get mosquito bite last week, but nothing as bad as collapsing. Work.
I've got some of those mosquito bite pen things if you want to stick on it.
What, so I can draw around the mosquito bite so it really shows it?
No, so it like numbs it or some shit.
Oh, cool.
In the interval, I'll go and get it.
Brilliant.
So if you're listening, mosquito bite people, click like, sponsor us now.
And subscribe. And check out the merch store. We will get bored of saying that eventually. So Saturday I was hosting a barbecue. It was an impromptu one, but sometimes the impromptu ones are really nice.
I hosted a barbecue on Sunday for Father's Day. Forgot about that.
Oh, you did?
Mm.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
And Sunday was Father's Day. So went out for a meal and then everyone went to bed at about 8 apart from me. So I stayed up watching a film that I'll talk about in a bit.
Ooh.
Then that was it. What about you, Brett? Have you got a cat yet?
No, the cats arrived this weekend.
Down.
Yeah, Cat Day Friday. So stay tuned to the social media for cat pictures because I'll end up being that.
That's going to be your Instagram for the next year.
Well, it's always been full. No, it's not the 80s anymore. We can't say that and degrade women with such terms.
You're better than Andrew Tate.
Yeah. Is it birds now? Can we still say birds?
Crumpet.
Totty. Go on, Paul.
No, I was just thinking about having as much money as Andrew Tate.
Well, it's going to make no good when you're in prison.
Yeah.
Easy. We digress,
but yeah. Who's going to play him in the film? Oh. But yeah,
Probably
I had a
himself.
nice mellow weekend. Watched a few films. Kate bought a PS5, so I had a little go on that for a little while.
What were you playing?
Astro Playroom.
Oh yeah, that comes free. You didn't buy a game.
Oh, we've got the one where the bloke looks like me and he's got a little kid.
Doesn't look
Last
like
of Us.
you.
No, he's bald with a beard.
Thor Ragnarok.
No.
Not Thor Ragnarok. What is it? It's the God of War.
That's it. We got that one as well. But I like the one with the Astro Playroom. That was cool. And you unlock old PlayStation things and that as artifacts.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, that was.
I'm yet to jump on the PS5 bandwagon.
That's really.
I'm always a late adopter just to make sure they get rid of all the bugs and they change the design so it looks nicer.
It's okay. It's definitely late now.
Yeah.
If you still
Because
get
the
one,
first PS4s, or was it the PS3s? They looked awful, and then they brought out the newer version.
Yeah,
And
I've
it was
got one
nice
with
and sleek.
I got Darth Vader embedded in mine.
Cool.
It was like the Star Wars,
Yeah.
whatever special thing. That's what led me to buy one in the end. It's like, let's have it. And you got Battlefront. But yeah, no, it's PlayStation 5 is a nice sort of piece of tech.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much my weekend and what we watched. I will be going through shortly when we talk about what we watched.
Cool.
But nice and chilled in the sunshine and a few mosquito bites. So, Damien, what you watched?
Not a lot, but more than last week.
Hey!
I've rejoined the podcasting world.
Yay!
So I've started to catch up with Yellow Jackets because season 2 is finished now, as in it's all aired, all its episodes.
That's the cheerleaders in a plane crash one, isn't it?
Football players.
Oh, football.
They're not cheerleaders, they're soccer players in a plane
Sorry,
crash.
I'm so 80s again, aren't I? They're
This is
female
set in the
football
90s.
players.
Well, the plane crash is set
But
in
they're
the
women
90s.
who are actually doing sports rather than cheering it on in
Yeah.
scantily clad clothes.
Exactly.
Do they have cheerleaders?
I've no idea.
Because that'd be weird,
And
wouldn't it?
they're spirit squads now.
But would a female team have male cheerleaders?
No,
Well,
they're
there's male
mixed now.
cheerleaders in.
No, I know,
cheerleaders.
I know,
They're
but
spirit squads now.
Yeah,
they're
but
trying to get rid of
no one goes to an American football game wanting to see male cheerleaders.
Some people might do.
Not really.
You don't know that.
I imagine
Who are
like,
you to judge?
it's the same demographic as like Magic Mike and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
People like to see that.
Anyway,
It's what
So-
keeps my OnlyFans going.
he asked me a question.
I'm listening. He's the one that keeps butting in.
I know.
Only because you said, are they cheerleaders?
Yeah, I was saying that I was just.
Anyway,
assuming
let's
it
move
has-
on.
I was ashamed.
Oh,
that,
can we move on now?
I was just ashamed at my inherent sexism that I didn't
Yeah.
think they could be professional sports athletes being women.
I too was disgusted by your sexism.
Anyway, 3 episodes into season 2. I've lost the will to carry on with this conversation now, to be perfect.
Oh, I thought you meant you'd lost the
I
will
actually wanna
to
watch
carry
this,
on
but
watching
yeah.
it.
No, I've lost the will to carry on this conversation.
tell
Is it
us.
any good?
Yeah, it was good in the first season. Second season,
They're
it's still
still
good.
Still lost.
I'm only 3 episodes in, but the threads from season 1 are starting to...
I thought that was like a bunch of people called Freds.
Threads.
Yeah, I know. It's just these 3 random boys called Fred. That would have been cool. Just part of the soccer team. Edit, sir.
They've all got postman hats on and bandages across their eyes.
Anyway, so that's that.
But you're liking it.
Yeah.
And there's still last episode.
And what's that on at the moment?
Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus.
So is this the one that you subscribe to and you're sticking with the subscription? It wasn't just a free trial, or it's not free as part of Sky, or
No.
I get it free because I've got Sky Movies.
no, that's what I'm saying. So is it free because of Sky?
No. I just subscribed to it.
Yeah, and that's what I asked. Do you subscribe to
you,
it?
you asked it as if I've mentioned it before. I just...
Well, one of you, I thought, signed up for a free subscription or free trial period of one of those Paramount Pluses or whatever it was.
I did it for Apple and never watched it in the 6 months I had it.
No. Okay.
But you could have watched Silo now.
Yeah, no, now when I watch it, I've got to pay. It's not fair. Paul, have you watched anything else? Or was that
I have, but you carry on and I'll...
Alright, you regroup. You get your breath back. You just talk all the time. Paul.
Okay, so I will kick off then with nothing new. But where Neve is starting to get a bit older now, she's interested in watching like action films. Oh, apparently our News Blast has just popped up on the Apple Podcast.
Oh, News Plus. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, check it out. Well, yeah, a few
so-
days ago.
Divergent was on TV.
Divergent.
It's the one in a dystopian future where a girl is a part of one cast of people. She has to go through like a sorting hack, but in the future that puts her in a different class because she's not one of any of them, so she's divergent because she doesn't fit into any of the casts. So she gets basically ostracised and out in the wild, and she tries to take over and like form a rebellion to overthrow the government. Not great. There's a trilogy of them, but that was a nice segue into introducing her to Hunger Games. So
cool.
we watched Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay Part 1 in the space of 2 days, and she's loving them.
Oh, that's cool. I
Which is
did,
cool.
I did them in my year 8 English class.
Yeah, so
When we
I'm
did dystopia, yeah.
and I'm trying to get her to read the books.
That'd be cool, yeah. I'd try that too.
she's not quite sold on it yet. But
we're just finishing Animal Farm probably by next week, and then we're going to move on to the Hunger Games. We're
Yeah.
doing dystopia.
But it was really, really interesting watching through her eyes, as it was, when she was sat next to me. And you could tell her really getting into it, which was cool. I mean, she's like 11 years old, but yeah, she was really getting into it, and she's desperately looking forward to the final one of the films now.
Oh, cool.
So, I don't know whether you want to go to you and then to Damien to me with some other
Yeah,
stuff.
okay. Well, I'll start with probably the hottest, most discussed film at the moment for different reasons. The Flash, the movie version, not the TV series. I've now seen it. I thought it was alright. Better than it was enjoyable. They stole a lot from the TV series, I would say, of the better moments, the family moment type things.
But going on your two's reviews of the TV series, you both really like at least the first 8 series from what I can remember.
Yeah, I think that's as far as I got. But then the series was based on Flashpoint.
Yeah,
based on the comics.
Yeah, but
So-
yeah.
To be fair, you can't say that the films nicked the TV.
Well, no, they
based on the same comic, isn't it? Is it not, or is it not?
Well, it's a different. I mean, they both did it in different ways, but no, more the elements like the mum stuff, the dad stuff, kind of, which is in the comic, but like almost in some ways how they filmed it and that type of character.
Oh, right, okay, I see what you mean.
But it was there was some nice moments, but Billy Crudup, who played the dad in all the other DC films, wasn't in it this time. He had another guy who looked like a real cool, friendly dad, kind of guy. Looked really nice. Sort of, you think, oh, that guy's really cool. No, that guy's got a cool dad. You know, that sort of thing. And I was watching that, and I'm like, man, this guy's a bit old, a bit podgy, and that. I thought, I know him something. And it's the dude who was in Office Space, who was the cool guy that didn't want to go to work, and they gave him a rise. And,
Oh yeah.
right, but obviously it's like 30 years later now, and now he's playing like the out of breath old dad who, oh come on, man, who's in prison again for the murder of the wife that he didn't do, and all that sort of thing.
But that is in the
that,
comics.
That's all. That's always been the origin, And but there's some nice touches along the way. There's been some controversy over some bits. I mean, you get. Ben Affleck is probably at his Batman best at this. Spoilers. Oh yeah, there will be spoilers. Ding ding.
How's that spoiler?
I'm just saying before I carry on.
Oh, okay.
Shit.
Ben Affleck is.
I've broken the spoiler bell.
But then he does the Flashpoint bit, and they actually did time differently in this. They did it as almost like a big carousel where everything turns around, so you can see all the moments like going upwards. So as he runs round, it kind of plays through and comes down. It's totally different to TV, how they did it in TV show. I mean, you still get the bits where he's running along and you see things.
Yeah.
But the whole, like, going back in time, it's like a carousel thing that winds around him, and he's almost like the film strip of the life, you know, sort of, which is pretty cool. And it all builds up in that. And then, a lot of then obviously he mucks up time, and he realises it's not right, and General Zod arrives on Earth, but Superman hasn't turned up to fight him, which was the Man of Steel movie, because he's fucked up time and there is no Superman.
Ooh.
And so like, oh shit, what do we do? He's like, I know. So he goes, what about, looks up Victor Stone, he's an NFL player or whatever, because he's never had the accident that made him become cyborg. No one's ever found Aquaman, because it didn't happen. And he says something about, there's a nice little cameo where he phones up Aquaman's dad, who's the dude that plays Boba Fett, something Morrison, and Tamura Morrison. You know the guy.
I know
the big, that dude. And he said, can I just check? He goes, are you married to a blonde underwater goddess or something like that? And he turns around and it's just like this like big like really big woman on the thing, like eating crisps and all that, and it just looks and it just hangs the phone up, and it's it's got comedy in it. People going, oh yeah, but they've made it more Marvel with the jokes, and like people like that.
Marvel is successful.
Yeah, people
it
like
annoys me, but
people
it is
like
successful.
that.
Just for my benefit.
Yo,
how did him going back in time stop Superman coming to Earth?
It's a ripple effect, isn't it? It's
he saves his mum from being killed, and then whatever happened over that, the effects change.
But that happened on
If you fart in the Amazon, there's a gale force wind in Nuki.
Yeah, but not on a different planet, surely.
That's
That's got to be some major fart. Even for you.
The whole ripples spread out across the whole
You'd be
galaxy.
surprised what my fart's
Well, I
going to
wouldn't be surprised, David.
But what he does find in the end, he finds that there was a Bruce Wayne who was a Batman. So he goes there, and this long-haired hobo guy who's living in Wayne Manor kind of attacks him, and and he also, when there's another one of him because he's come back on the wrong timeline, so there's one of him before the experiment, and all that happens. And so the other guy then gets powers, and he's trying to teach him because it could be just them. And then they find out there's a Bruce Wayne, and obviously when it comes down to it, we all know that Bruce Wayne ends up being.
Yeah.
And so then we have Beetlejuice Batman running around, and he's back and he does do it. Keaton's good in it.
Yeah.
But is he in it enough? But then they get him, and then they go to rescue because they found out something from Krypton did land on Earth, but it landed in Russia. So they go there, and it's actually Supergirl, and she's got like dark hair, but they've kept her in a like underground in a bait away from solar energy, so she's all like weak and like bony and stuff. And they bust her out anyway, and then of course once she.
I know you said there were spoilers, but you're literally
really giving us the whole walkthrough.
Yeah, well, you need then what happens. So
no, we wouldn't.
But they bust her out, and that's all cool.
And he's still going.
And I'm just cutting through now, and then they go to battle.
It wasn't about the speed in which you're talking. It was about the fact you're giving the entire film away.
No, I said spoilers.
People watching, but There's a limit.
I know. In fact,
Just keep ringing the bell.
Most
Yeah,
of
ding, ding,
most
ding,
of
ding.
this is in the trailer. I haven't got to the cool bits yet. The real cool.
Don't give out the cool bits.
And yeah, then there's some cool bits later on where there's a massive battle.
Is it any good? Is it worth watching?
Yes, but these are the cool bits of the massive battles. You will see people from past and present DC, some that never got the chance to be in that role, Cage, and others who have long since passed away, and that's what's going to address, because some people are backlash that they've used like CGI of those people or whatever, but
this has been done
yeah, but
time
it's
and
been done
time
well,
again.
and
It's
also
not just them.
they've got the family permissions. They've gone in and said we're going to do this. They've said yeah. So what? Enjoy it.
It's none of your fucking business.
Enjoy. Oh, it's such bad taste. They've done that. Oh, can I just say one of them?
Go on then.
Because one of them, when he's running around, you see all the different, a bit like Crisis on Infinite Earths. You see the different Earths and this thing out into the sky. And one of them, you've got Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater as Superman and Supergirl stood looking up the sky, and they're like, "Use Christopher Reeve, and he's standing up."
For fuck's sake.
And all that. There's been a whole, because apparently he didn't want. He was never after that. He didn't film standing up or something. He made a thing about it, and it's like, you know, it looks cool. I thought it looked alright, and we never got to see them together because that never happened. It all went down the shitter. And then there's other people pop up as well, as I say, and then the best bit's right at the end. But I'll tell you that off air. But
No,
I really
you don't
enjoyed
need to
it.
tell
It's
us
a fun film, and I don't see what all the fuss about. The biggest problem is Ezra Miller. He's brilliant in it, but obviously real life kind of rubs it the wrong way a little bit. It's like saying Hitler told a funny joke. You know what I mean? It's like I feel a bit wrong watching it, but it was good.
So the new Flash that comes along, is that a different Flash?
Ezra Miller and Double G.
Oh, see, they shot themselves in the foot because they could have introduced a new Flash.
The one bit that annoyed me is they didn't have I forgot his name for the TV series.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now.
But
I also recorded Barry Allen.
yeah, but because in the Crisis on TV series, Ezra Miller went into the TV series and they'd done that bit, and that's where he got the name of Flash from. So even if they just used that again, they've got it filmed.
Yeah.
Just for 10 seconds. Oh, what?
Yeah, but that's CW, and you know, it's
Yeah, but Warner Brothers own it all.
yeah, but they might own the IP, but not the production. There's a difference.
But yeah, no, I thought it was best of DC films. Maybe the Suicide Squad might be a little bit funnier, but I think as a set piece that actually stuck to the core material and didn't try and make it moody, didn't try and make it.
How long was it?
I think it's about 2 hours. Might be just under. I can't remember now.
Ooh.
But I imagine with the DVD there'll probably be a few more. Apparently there's more Keaton scenes that weren't in there that you find out why he gave up Batman. But
Feels a bit short.
They'll all be on the Blu-ray. But yeah, but it's good. It's fun. Kids will like it, and like, you know, let's be honest, it's a superhero film. We're not looking at War and Peace or analysing something that deep. It's fun.
Cool.
Back to you, Damon.
Okay, so Disney Plus have decided to reboot, continue a film from 1997, and hammer the advertising to the extent where you can't escape the advertising.
Is that the full Monty?
Yeah. So I thought, sod it, I'll give it a go. It reunites all the main cast.
So it's like I got every single person back, didn't they? That's still alive.
Pretty much, yeah. And so it's got all the. It does. I've only about 4 episodes in, but it's got the performances are what you would expect. They're all really good in the characters that they're embedding. But the problem is, it's just boring.
I was going to say, is there actually a story that needs to be told?
Is it like we're going to strip one more time?
No, nothing. That only gets mentioned at the sort of the prologue at the very start, and then it's like to tell you that time has passed basically, and they do a shot of the working man's club where they did it, and that's all closed down, derelict, and covered in moss and all sorts. So yeah, it's like the time has passed, but the circumstances haven't. Poverty, mental health, unemployment, they're all still strong themes going through the storylines in each episode, but it just doesn't have any of the charm or camaraderie, that's the word I'm looking for, that landed so well in the actual
But
film.
With any
will
comedy.
they get that back?
It
though?
is comedy. It's
Right.
it's a dramedy, you know. It's a comedy
Yeah,
and drama
yeah.
mix, the same as the film was. But the main cast pretty much don't really share much screen time together.
Yeah, but is that gonna build? Though?
It doesn't feel like it because it's literally. So it's I'm only about maybe 4 episodes in. So far it's focused on Robert Carlyle's Gaz and his relationship with his estranged daughter that has been obviously born in the intervening
Yeah,
years.
I'll
It's
say it was
about-
a boy in the film.
yeah, no, well he's a police officer.
Parallel
Yeah.
universe.
No, he's a police officer now in his like 20s or whatever.
Yeah, I suppose he is.
But yeah, so he's got a 17, 18-year-old daughter who's at school, and you've got Mark Addy, who's Dave, and it just focuses on the struggling marriage between him and Leslie Sharp. I've forgotten her name in the
Isn't
show.
that every drama he's in?
Pretty much, yeah, and that was
Even
that
Game
was,
of Thrones was pretty much
Yeah.
that route, really.
and that was the main theme for
I
him
like him
in
as
the
well.
in the movie. So like nothing's changed there. I mean, the rest of the cast are pretty much relegated to extras in a cafe, where you know they might one of them two might pop in, or sometimes you'll get some scenes of them in the cafe talking.
What about Denzel?
Denzel's in it, and this is what I was about to go on to say.
Horse.
Yeah. So, because of that cafe, all the way that they're just always in that cafe, and Denzel, so Paul Barber doing his pretty much best compo impression.
Yeah.
It's just like a reboot of
Last of
Last of
Summer
Summer
Wine.
Wine rather than a continuation of the Full Monty.
I was going to say, it sounds more like something that should be on BBC One on a Sunday.
Yeah. And like I say, there's not really anything wrong with it,
Yeah.
other than nothing is really happening. And like I say, the charm of the original film, it's not, I mean, I don't rate it as a great film, but it was hugely successful, and it's,
Yeah.
I can see why, because it was the way that they all,
Yeah,
sort of
the
came
old
to-
ensemble cast.
yeah, exactly, they all worked really well together, and they
I put
could
it
do
in
that again, but they're
I
not.
put it in that same group like the Commitments and things like that. You know, you have those sort of urban placed comedies. They're almost a snapshot of time as well
Yeah.
of what.
So do we reckon this is a new trend? As opposed to making live action versions of cartoons, just coming up with stuff that was a success in the 90s and 80s and making a series out of it, like Billy Elliot. Is there going to be a Billy Elliot TV series
I
that?
think there has been.
There has been, yeah.
Oh
I don't know,
my God,
I mean-
is there really?
Disney Plus, I mean, they've said it's a limited season. You know, not going to do any more.
Just on that, there was a thing the other day where Disney made. We talked about it on our news blast last week. It's like Disney, like one of the, I think the BBC or something picked up on it. So Disney announced they are shooting live action Bambi, and someone reported, "Did they do enough to fucking mum?" Which I thought was
Nice.
quite good.
Yeah,
But yeah, I suppose it's what they can pick up. Like everyone is searching for content. That's
Yeah.
it now.
exactly.
We'll be on this soon, boys.
I think they'd have been better off doing a direct sequel to it, as in, and it's obviously difficult to do because 27 years have passed, but if they did something that was almost immediately after
Yeah.
that, so, you know, make
Man,
it
that's
a
a whole
period.
Nelson Mandela, isn't it?
What?
That's a whole Nelson Mandela.
What do you mean it's a whole Nelson?
27 years.
Is that, I don't know how long
Yeah,
it
it's
is in
something like
general.
that.
But yeah, if they
Yeah.
did, but they couldn't do that obviously
Feel
because
old.
they're 27 years older, but that would make it more, it would appeal to the nostalgia side of it, I guess.
I wonder what the actors felt because you know, like obviously, like Robert Carlyle, Mark Addy,
Relatively.
yeah, no, they're you know they're at least you know they're on Hollywood call sheets.
Yeah.
Paul Barber does all right. He's around. He knows what he's doing. And then you got the other guys.
Yeah.
It's like, hi, remember me? It's like, don't talk to me. Don't sit near me. You know.
Oh, even Les Battersby pops up. I've forgotten the guy's name. Who does a lot of horror films. He's banging to making horror films at the moment. I don't know if you know.
Oh, from Emmerdale.
No, from Coronation Street.
Oh, what? Les Battersby's doing that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. 'Cause I know
Thingy Bob and
Paddy.
Thingy Bob.
one from Emmerdale's
Yeah,
doing
Paddy
that.
does loads. He's
Yeah.
done loads of zombie and
Yeah.
vampire films over the years. But yeah, so he pops up in it, and they've introduced another character played by Miles Jupp, I think his name is.
The name rings a bell.
Yeah, I'm sure that's who it is. He appears a lot on like QI, and he was in Rev as the curate, the straight-laced curate, and again perfectly good in it, but doesn't add anything to the cast or to the storyline. So Yeah, it's just a bit meh. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not. I won't go out of your way to watch it. You
I
just
won't.
are now because I've got to see the
yeah.
end of it.
I don't think I'm going to.
I'll end up probably watching it at some point. He's in Balamory as well.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
Just there. What do I recognise him from? It wasn't those. It was Balamory.
It wasn't Rev, one of the most acclaimed
Yeah,
little sitcoms
I
that
don't watch that.
would never get made now because they're all far too famous. Which is a shame because that was a good series. Anyway, sorry, Paul. You're itching to crack on.
No, I was just saying, but so you wouldn't recommend it, or you would?
I'm not going to watch it.
I wouldn't. It's one of those weird things. It's like avoid it like the plague. I wouldn't say that because it's not
But
bad.
if you put it on, you probably end up watching it.
Yeah, it's just not.
And that's where I
Don't
think
go out
if
of your way to watch it.
if
but
it was on
don't avoid it.
BBC on a Sunday night,
Hmm.
people would stumble across it and then go back
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, the nostalgia thing and that. Yeah, no, fair enough.
I mean, it might get better. Like I say, I'm only 3, maybe 4 episodes in. I forget now. So there's obviously at least another 4 to
So
go.
they've got to save the social club or come together for something at some point.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But you know, it's just a bit weird that the way there's like a euphoric end to the film, and they're all really
Yeah.
good buddies and all that sort of stuff, and then 27 years later, they kind of almost barely know each other. They just randomly bump into each other in cafes.
Such
and
is
stuff.
life.
So we've survived longer than they
Yeah,
have.
exactly.
As long as they don't form their own podcast, they're all right.
Yeah.
The full Monty. Right, Paul, back to you.
So the only other thing I want to talk about that I've been watching is Extraction 2. So yeah, this is on Netflix. Chris Hemsworth. So I don't know if you guys have seen the first one.
No.
That's all right. So after barely surviving all of his wounds in Bangladesh that you kind of see at the start of the film, Tyler Rake is back and his team on another mission. And in this one, they basically go off and rescue the wife. No, yeah, the sister of his ex-wife and her daughters who are in prison
Yeah, none
because
of that sunk in. And
her husband is
yeah.
evil and he's in prison, and he's basically brought his family to suffer with him.
It sounds like 24.
Yeah, so they're gits in prison. They're big mobsters.
Oh, I thought that was an acronym. You actually.
No, they're really nasties, all this kind of stuff. He goes and rescues them, but then obviously the bad guys clan, I forgot what they're called, they all go on a hunt to get the wife.
Disco voice.
Yeah, that would have been cool. It's
Disco is life.
an alright action film. If there's a third one which they're making, then I'll probably watch it. I wouldn't go to the cinema and do it and watch it, but it's on Netflix, so
Easy access.
it's a good action film. I think the biggest problem I have with Chris Hemsworth in an action film is he's having all of these fisticuff battles and all this kind of stuff, and you think it's kill him. Just
And also, he's probably twice the size of half the guys he's fighting as well.
yeah, he's still a bit big. I mean, they did put him up against some big ones. It's not quite Rocky and Dolph Lundgren moments, but it's just a good action film that's on Netflix. So why wouldn't you watch it if you got Netflix? Because it's free. It's not going to rock the world. What I've been playing on the PS5 is what's that for?
No, you play it like, ooh.
Oh, okay.
But it's building up for
Thanks.
It's not often we talk about video games, so It's,
Resident Evil 4. I'm still playing
I was about to
it.
say it's an exciting moment, but it's not.
No, it is. It's really good on PS5.
Is it?
Yeah, really
it's
liking it.
turned into shoot 'em up, though, isn't it? Rather than like the original PS.
Yeah, but
PlayStation
I didn't
version.
like all the puzzles.
See, I preferred that to the shoot.
There's still a
Call
few.
of Duty
There's
shit.
still a few puzzles in there,
Yeah, but it's not.
but
the same.
no, it's a bit better than that.
It's not. It's worse.
For me, I appreciate the experience more.
Okay. Okay, back to me. I revisited a few things this week, in the last week as well.
What a surprise.
Well, no, 'cause Kate had never seen Phoenix Nights,
Okay.
and I finally tracked down the DVDs in my room because it's not available on anything
No,
due
it's
to
not.
all the arguments between who gets the
Yeah.
money for what. So we watched season 1. Still very funny. Yeah, there was nothing in there that still made you think, oh, that's not funny now. I mean, some of the Peter Kay-isms are played out a bit now because he's done them to death on everything and stand up and that. But as a series, it still works, and I still laugh at like he's bought them, but he's dropped them. And
see, I was never into Phoenix Nights. I know you guys were, but
it's still really good.
Yeah,
And there's a few people you spot now, like I mean, you knew she was in it anyway, but the one from Car Share, she's in it. At one point, I've forgotten the actress's real name. Diane, Philomena Kunk.
Yeah,
she's in an episode.
Yeah.
Just various northern people, actors and actresses. We're all actors now. Sorry, I'm so sexist tonight.
It depends on your opinion. There's a lot of actresses out there that will say I'm an actress, not an actor. Anyway, it's not important.
Yeah, so I'm just being so sexist. I've got to label it because it's just so bad.
But you're only being. It's like you're being sexist to some of them, but not all of them, and all of them, but not some of them.
You're marginalising them.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Is that worse?
Also, we watched Miss Peregrine's Home of Peculiar Children, which I think between that and Big Fish might be my favourite Tim Burton films now.
That was a good one.
Take
That one.
To Big Fish.
I just really liked it. I think it's just a bit.
I went to the cinema to see that as well, and the only thing I took away from it was the fact that Pearl Jam were playing at the end.
Yeah,
it was alright.
I think maybe I just need to see it again.
It's just a weird. It was just something. It wasn't. I think when I went in, and I really liked Billy Crudup as well, and it was just something I wasn't expecting. Maybe out of Tim Burton, I think I was waiting for the kooky weird, and it was almost like something completely different. And Miss Peregrine's Home of Peculiar Children,
I quite like that.
Yeah,
I've not seen that.
It's really good, and but they just decided they were going to do some more, but they just decided because they kind of combined the sort of 1.5 books, there's 3 books, 1.5 into that film, and they were like, well, we've kind of told the story really, let's just leave it alone, which is fair enough rather than just doing something for the sake of it. But it's kind of like I want more, so I'll just wait till Disney Plus make it a TV series.
Or you could read the books.
I read the books, I've got them all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, it's just like for those,
right back at you, Mr.
For those of you at home, maybe that really liked it.
There's a cool film that's got a book to it that's getting put into one of my schemes of work. I'll go through this one quickly. We watched the director's cut of Raising Cain, the old John Lithgow dissociative identity disorder movie. The director's cut makes the wife out to be much more of a bitch of her affair. There's a good extra sort of 20-25 minutes of her. So when he does snap, you're a lot more sympathetic because she's like a cheating cow rather than he just suddenly she has a fairy snaps. You're like, oh, what? You get all the conniving and the plotting behind it and all that. And that was alright. But there's another version in the Arrow DVD Blu-ray set where another guy has recut it, or he recut it online in order in the scenes that it was written or something. And then Brian De Palma saw it online and was like that's shit art. I'm going to get that put into the box set. You've done an amazing job there. And so we need to just be recutting films on YouTube. Because he was like the bloke on there. He's like, I thought I was going to get sued. And he was like, we'd really like to meet you and put it on there. I was like, yeah. So, and that's on there as well, but I haven't watched that version yet, but it's all in a different order of how it was originally intended or something. So it could be quite good. I don't know, but I've seen enough of it for now.
Yeah.
But got 2 more things, but back to you, Damien.
I haven't got anything else.
Nothing else here.
Okay, I watched, I think you talked about it the other week, and Kate really want to watch it, Old.
The one on the
other
beach.
week, talked about that ages ago.
The M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
That one on a beach. It was alright. I thought it wasn't anything.
It's not the worst of his films.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It all made sense at the end. It tied it up with a nice bow. Spent ages trying to work out where the girl was from, and it was Jojo Rabbit. But I enjoyed it for what it was, and that's it. It made sense. Nice ending. Got a bit tense at the end, and I was getting suckered into it. Like, come on, you can do it. And then the last thing I've been watching, I'm now finished episode 9 of the 10 season.
10 seasons.
10.
Oh.
And the other thing I've been watching, I've now finished episode 9 of a possible 10 episodes of From season 2.
Cool. I just like you stopped. Like, they would cut that out.
Yeah, he won't.
Yeah. But
Those days are gone.
Yeah.
It's because you're a professional.
Well, it's on YouTube anyway, so
Yeah, I know. I'm glad.
like, subscribe.
No, sponsor us, Paz, money.
Go to the merch store.
But from is moving on, but it's weird for TV show because it's moving on in ways you wouldn't expect it to sort of move. There are hints of things like a bigger picture. I don't want to spoil it because I know you want to watch it.
Yeah.
But everything's just getting really bad for everyone in it.
Okay.
So it's just like, you're all in the shit now.
Is there any? Are we any closer to getting some info about what the hell's going on? No.
Yes and well, things have been revealed that might be there. Do we know what they are? What the meaning is?
Okay.
No. But you do get a bigger. You understand a bit more of the landscape of the town, shall we say, but.
Are they in a big silo?
No, but someone at work had a thing that they're all in a mental institute and they're all just.
That would be
going around.
really annoying and disappointing.
Really?
But you know, 'cause everyone's got there's a whole thing on theories in that, but it's getting as it's I think because they're getting closer to things, it's getting turned up on them and more things are happening, and you know it doesn't hold back when it does go violent as you've seen. So it's sort of like, yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do next because they need to end it with something, give us something a little bit more, as well as like, because if they turn it up much more, there's no feasible way anyone's going to survive. Let's put it that way. The stakes are high, man, but I'm enjoying it still. I'm along for the ride. It's good.
Cool.
Paul.
No, I'm done.
Oh, he is done, so I couldn't remember if you were done or not.
Right.
On.
There we go then.
That was what we've watched this week. Written by Alan Moore and directed by Mitch Jenkins, the show is a 2020 British fantasy neo-noir thriller that follows a detective arriving in Northampton in search of a missing artefact. It stars Tom Burke as Fletcher Dennis, Siobhan Hewlett as Faith Harrington, Ellie Bamber as Becky Cornelius, Alan Moore himself as Frank Messerton, Sheila Atim as John Conqueror, Christopher Fairbank as Patsy Bleecker, Bradley John as Elton Carnaby, and Antonia Campbell-Hughes as Monica Beardsley, amongst others. Okay. I had never heard of this before I watched it. Obviously, I'd heard of Alan Moore. He's a popular
Graphic novel.
writer and that for
graphic
me.
novel. Did he did Watchmen and stuff,
Yeah, he did
didn't
Watchmen, From
Comics.
How, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
He doesn't like them being called.
Yeah, lots of stuff in 2000 AD many years ago. Dog attack, if you can hear noise in the background. And yeah, he's known for having many run-ins with people who have made his work on the screen where he sent the money back or asked for his name to be removed. A lot of the time now, like if you watch, I think like the Watchmen and that on reruns, it won't say written by Alan Moore, it says it written by the writer. Because as far as he's concerned, that's not what he did.
Yeah.
Although, you know, maybe he could have given the man to charity. But yeah, so it was a new one for me on discovering it. It totally passed me by when it came out, and so I was intrigued and watching it. Anyone else experiences with Alan Moore or this film in particular?
Not this film, but yeah, Alan Moore. I know of his work, shall we say.
Okay, Damien?
Again, know of his work, but never seen this film or heard of it. So
Okay.
that was nice and easy, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good one. Okay, do we want to go into the plot, or do we want first impressions, or are we going
Let's just go straight into the plot.
Because we haven't seen it before.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, Damien.
Okay, so Fletcher Dennis arrives via taxi to Northampton in search of a missing person, James Mitchum. He views Northampton as a nice, quiet place, He is informed by the car's taxi driver that God made the country, but he didn't make the town. Fletcher immediately visits the public library, where he introduces himself as Steve Lippman to Harry Gaunt, who offers to assist him in the search for his old friend, Jim Mitchum. Oh, his old friend Jim Mitchum. Sorry. Henry appears to hack into the computer network of a local hospital to reveal that James was admitted to hospital that previous evening. Henry hopes it's a false alarm and directs Fletcher to the hospital, where he poses as Jim's brother Robert. He befriends Clive, Julian Bleach. I've done it. I said I wasn't going to do it now. I've bloody done it. I hate it when people put actors' names in brackets. He befriends Clive, a goth orderly who likes his hair. Oh, right. I thought he meant he likes his own hair. No, he does mention that he likes the detective's hair. And he takes him to Jim, who died from his injuries the night before.
Okay, weird opening. I did like the cars, because it's first in the phone book then.
Yeah,
so it's like literally they've gone through all the other companies, but enough A's in to put them at the front.
That's been in some of before, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's an old trope.
Yeah.
There's loads of companies used to, when you think of the yellow pages, there's that, Aardvark.
And I like the...
Not antiques, electricals. There's Aardvark Electricals, which is a local company to us.
And I like the, I'm his brother Robert, obviously Robert Mitchum.
Yeah.
And all that, which I think your nurse does say. And I actually really liked Clive, the goth orderly. He was just weird, but in a cool way. Any other things on that bit?
I was... Where is little shit?
So for those that aren't watching on YouTube and are listening, we have a little dog that
that's causing big problems.
If he's locked outside the bar, he scratches on the door. If you let him in, he scratches on Brett or attacks him or us or bites stuff. And at the moment, Damien is in the process of picking him up
and taking him to his big wicker dog, where he'll be sacrificed for the summer solstice. Hot dog, jumping frog, Albuquerque.
So I think the other thing, just to pad in some time while Damien's walking out of the room with the dog, is this is set in Northampton, where Alan Moore lived.
I think it's a bizarre love letter to his hometown.
Yeah.
And they, and it is Northampton. They make no attempt to glamorise it or pad it up in any way, shape or form. I think you just get bare bones Northampton.
Yeah, and this shows a weird other world that may be going on in Northampton. And
it's what Alan Moore sees is what's going on in Northampton.
But wasn't the other thing, Alan Moore had some quote, because he did LSD once, and he said something like, I don't condone anyone doing it, or don't tell anyone, go off and do it, but it allowed me to recognise that there's worlds out there, that are beyond the imagination, that are just intertwined with our own.
I mean, of all the things he created, I mean, he revamped Swamp Thing. Yeah. He created John Constantine, or Constantine, I owned it. And that man's been to many worlds, so maybe Alan Moore.
And his take on LSD is completely different to mine, so he got something positive out of it, which is nice.
So we were attacked by Artex.
Yeah.
Which could be in our film one day. But yeah, so we've got this nice, or not nice, Northampton, where it's in all its gritty glory. We've got a strange taxi driver. We've got Fletcher Dennis looking for his friend, who then Fletcher Dennis becomes Steve Lippman. Then he becomes, what was it? Robert Mitchum.
Yeah.
So a lot of aliases going on.
So we know that something's afoot.
Yeah.
Already.
But then you're also thinking, well, he's a PI, so he's. As a standard, that's the sort of thing they would likely do, rather than giving out
James Bond had thought of that.
Yeah. Although he survived many years.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else, or shall I move on?
Let's move
Go
on.
for it, Paul.
Okay. Clive is shocked when he realises that Robert did not know his brother was dead. He apologises and reveals that Jim died after falling down some stairs in a nightclub. We've all been, a few seconds away from that in the past. Robert asks for Jim's personal effects, and Clive gets them for him. They include his wallet and a lovely skull ring. He asks if there was a gold cross with roses in the middle. Collins says that he did not see that. He only remembers the psychic atmosphere when he came in. It turns out a woman was brought into the hospital at the same time as Jim. She is called Faith and accidentally hung herself in a sex game, but survived.
Actually, do.
As Jim was going into surgery, he asked, "Where's Faith gone?" Not knowing who she is. Robert gives Colin his number and asks him to pass it on to Faith when she wakes up.
So again, still a bit weird. Something about this Jim guy then, or whatever he's up to. But I did like that. Yeah, I don't remember that. But the psychic atmosphere was weird. I wanted more of Clive. Clive was, to me, I forgot the character's name now, but the dude in Wood Now and I, the roadie bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
It was
see
almost
it.
that kind of, yeah, it's just weird, isn't it?
He'd be a good character actor in a sitcom. He's one of those people that just turn up, like the dithering idiot in Where She's a Vicar, or, you know, as we said already, something like off Last of the Summer Wine. He's their nice comedy randomness.
Yeah, it's definitely random. And he had that kind of, I wasn't sure if he was going for a kind of Misfits thing or a vampire thing, or probably both.
Yeah.
But
It's,
it was nice.
it's almost someone who was a goth in his teenage years and has not quite left it behind.
Yeah.
That's the
He's
the
still
image
there.
I got, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm not knocking anyone. Just saying that's definitely the vibe that is being given off by Clive.
So then after all that, we have Fletcher wandering around the town. He notes an advert in a shop window for the Mickelson and Morley Detective Agency, who boast no case too complicated. He notes that the address for that down. He then goes to look for somewhere to stay while he's there and to hire a room, and meets Becky Cornelius, who does have a room for rent, as the previous tenant James has died. Obviously the same guy, part of his detective skills. Fletcher takes the room under the name Steve and says he is a performance artist. As Fletcher unpacks, he reveals a striped jumper and a multitude of passports and identities, a Zen book, and a painting of which I thought was some peppers. But they do talk about it later on.
I thought they were peaches or something.
Peaches, yeah, but it's
It's
one of those
fruit of some kind.
Yeah. He then makes a phone call where he identifies himself as Fletcher Dennis and announces that Jim Mitchum is dead. The voice on the phone, and Mr. Bleecker, thanks him for his work, but Fletcher informs him it was a nightclub accident, but he will find the missing gold cross for him. So again, we get a little bit more depth now that maybe he's not a detective.
He's not a detective.
And he's thanked for killing someone, so you get a little bit more, the mystery's unravelling a little bit maybe. But I've lost track on how many names he's used now. I did like Ellie Bamber as Becky though, as the sort of ditzy but up for it roommate. It was making no,
not hiding the fact.
Yeah, not hiding the fact that she was like, yeah, she was basically gagging for him, for lack of a better term.
From the moment she reopened her door to him.
Yeah. Any thoughts at this point?
It's a good opening so far. You're getting, like you said, it's the misdirection is already starting to come out. He's not a detective. We haven't quite established necessarily what he is yet. You kind of obviously get a hint to that by Mr. Bleecker saying saying thank you, but you're still not sure. Is he an underworld?
Yeah.
Is he a detective? Because he could be an Idris Elba style. What's his name? Luther, yeah. He could be a Luther style detective rather than a hitman or whatever. So we're still not sure. So there's still the mystery there. And some other characters are starting to come in, which
what I liked as well is all the stuff in the
tapestry.
background as well. Like on when he's in the shop window looking at the detective agent, there's like it wasn't UKIP, but it was called something like GB Kip or something like that. And like some
there's lots of those. I actually stopped doing it because I found it distracting. But I think every poster, every road sign is there on purpose.
Yeah.
I just couldn't keep up with watching it, and then watching the film and trying to.
Because you get one. There's the video game thing, which does get mentioned a couple of times, and then there's there was another one I noticed, but I can't think what it was now. But it just made me laugh. But like you say, if you do watch it, keep your eyes in the background because it's.
But not too much because you will find it distracting.
Yeah, it is game on in the background.
It's one of those where you want to watch it, go through again to see that stuff.
But at this point now, it's all about a missing gold cross now.
Yeah. So it's shifted from trying to find a missing person to actually why he was trying to find that missing person. So when they see Clive, that makes no sense, Brett. When they see Clive,
when they see Clive coming home from work. So,
who's they?
When we see Clive coming home from work.
We then see Clive. Clive's the computer guy, hacker man.
Yeah.
We then see.
Right, we then see Clive coming home from work. The walls of his posh house have many framed newspaper clippings about a masked man bringing villains to justice. One reads, "London vigilante Flash Avenger dies aged 42." There's a large framed picture of the Flash Avenger in a tux, mask and sunglasses with a cigarette on the wall. Clive microwaves a shepherd's pie and eats it in a posh bow tie suit. After he finishes, he puts on the Flash Avenger mask and sets to work on his laptop where he analyses images of Steve Lippman. Yeah, this was all a bit weird. Because so far, yes, some of the characters have been off kilter, but there's been no upfront weirdness until you get to a man who lives on his own, dressing for dinner like he's in the 1920s.
For some reason, this just reminded me of Mystery Men.
I just like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I just like the fact it was shepherd's pie. It was just random, like I was expecting like some banquet feast, and he's not. He's microwaving a shepherd's pie, and it was just sort of. But I guess this is
because he hasn't got an Alfred looking out for him.
Yeah, true.
But this is the point. It's trying I think it's trying to be made is that he does all this like refinery stuff, but at the end of the day, he's a librarian. He's not landed gentry. He's just acting like he is landed gentry. So.
But
Can't
it looks
afford
like
to have pheasant cooked for him by Alfred.
Yeah. He almost is a deconstructed Batman, isn't he? In some ways, he's like the opposite. Yeah, but it's the fact like you've got this thing that he's dead at 42 though. But is that him? Do we think he like faked it and retired or something? Or
well, we don't know, do we? And we never really find out. But there's
this whole.
Is it he was that Flash character and faked his own death, or was the Flash character someone else and he's just taken on the mantle by being a keyboard warrior because he doesn't do anything necessarily action packed.
But I like that though. Is that what you need to be a superhero these days? Is it like a big statement that all you need is a computer now and you can do it?
A computer and a microphone helps.
You're right.
See how rich that sound is?
But just don't breathe into it.
Oh shit! And I just like the fact it's Flash Avenger. They've picked like. The shittest name, they haven't gone for anything.
I don't know. There's been a lot worse than that.
Oh yeah, I know that, but like it's a generic, basic kind of for all the things Alan Moore's come up with and created in his career, Flash Avenger.
And it's probably getting harder and harder to actually get one that has been taken.
But I think this one is like I need a list of crap names, and it's kind of. That's what he's come out of, but I like it. It's working so far, and it was weird, and it brought shepherd's pie back to the mainstream.
I regularly have shepherd's pie.
I don't think it's gone anywhere.
Anyway,
no, I don't. What's the one with beef? Cottage pie.
But everyone calls that shepherd's pie.
I know, but it's not though, is it? Because I'm not a big fan of lamb, so I tend to do a beef one instead.
Meanwhile, Fletcher is having a weird dream that he is on a bus. The taxi driver from earlier is now the bus conductor, and Faith Harrington is sat next to him in a hospital gown with a drip and still in a coma. Fletcher explains that Jim Mitchum battered Mr. Bleeker's daughter very badly and stole the cross. Fletcher buys 2 single tickets from the conductor. The conductor reminds him that God made the country but didn't make the town. A strange man sat behind him is revealed from behind a newspaper as Fletcher wakes up and goes down for breakfast, where he meets Becky again and fellow housemate Brendan. After some discussion, Fletcher asks for directions to the Mickelson and Morley detective agency he noted the day before. Upon arrival, an older lady answers, informing Fletcher that he wants Tim, who was in the garden with the other Tim. As he walks through the house, the lady offers him pop and biscuits. He declines, but she said to let her know if he changes his mind, as they are tropical crumble creams. That's right. She then waves goodbye to Fletcher, Black Hole Sun style, as he walks across the garden.
Yeah, it's that weird sort of smile, wasn't it? But yeah, that was...
See, that reminded me of the Twilight Zone, where I can't remember what the name of that story is, but we've talked about it before, where the kid is controlling all the adults in the house.
Yes. You
I
get...
can't even remember the name of the guy. We had this conversation before. I can only remember a snippet of it, but it's not the John Lithgow one. It's not. Doesn't matter who it is. It's not important. But that's what it reminded me
We'll
of.
dub that bit over. Episode 6, season 2. Yeah, I like this bit. I'm a big fan again of the bus bit, which is weird. I like Becky at breakfast again because she's still trying. And Brendan.
Have you ever seen Willow?
Yeah, apparently she's in that.
Yeah.
But more just to get, and then Brendan as well just seems like, I don't know if he was living in that house and they just put him in it, but he just fits like every student you meet who's the mate of someone whose house it is at the party. Yeah. It was just like, oh, this is Brendan who lives in town. Oh, you're right, man. Yeah, I do stand-up comedy and that. And it's yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I've met thousands of Brendans, but yeah, he did well. And then we get the surreal tropical crumble creams and popper biscuits. And
do they exist?
I have
They
no
don't.
idea.
They should do. I like the sound of those.
And just the weird, scary, which I guess it's the mum.
You would assume so.
Yeah.
But at this point, we don't know.
Oh, we don't know that. At the moment, she's just a weird lady.
Yeah.
Okay, so as he walks across the garden, we discover that the Mickelson and Morley Detective Agency appears to be a small shed. Fletcher enters what appears to be a 50s-style detective office with TARDIS powers, and a young girl named Maxine on reception, acting like she too is from the 50s and trying to spout a kind of New York accent in it. Coffee, you got it.
Yeah.
She asks Fletcher if he has an appointment, to which he replies he does not. Fletcher introduces himself as Mr. Lippman, and Maxine calls through using a tin can on a piece of string. A young voice answers that it's a deadbeat world, dollface. We don't make appointments no more. Send him through. As Fletcher steps through the door, everything turns black and white to go full 50s film noir. Mickelson and Morley are revealed to be young children acting like 50s private detectives. Mickelson even narrates the events that are unfolding in a voiceover style. Fletcher thinks he may have made a mistake and is about to leave, but other Tim wins him over with his sharp observations. He agrees their fee of $2.99 plus expenses. Mickelson notes that Fletcher looks like a guy with a story. Fletcher shows them a picture of the missing cross and tells them he is an antiques trader who specialises in religious artefacts. He wants them to see if they can locate it. Fletcher promises a bonus of cash or energy drinks. Which, yeah, that's what any kid wants now. Just before Fletcher leaves, Mickelson asks him, who's the broad? Fletcher replies, there isn't a broad, just a cross. Morley butts in, there's always a broad. Then Morley says, you may have passed a woman on your way in. Could she have mentioned biscuits with a specific variety referred to? Think very carefully. Fletcher reveals it was tropical crumble creams. This causes the two detectives to look at each other, smiling and nodding. They thank Dexter as he leaves and tell him not to leave town. On his way out, as it turns back in colour, Dexter passes their next client, a man staring weirdly and smiling at a hook, played by Mark Warren. For some reason, he doesn't get a line, but he's
So I've got a theory about this.
Oh.
So the guy that plays Jim, the missing now dead guy, is the forensic scientist in Vandervalk. Mark Warren is Vandervalk in Vandervalk. Vandervalk got rebooted around the same time this was being made.
Yeah.
So I have a suspicion that it was a kind of, I'm making this film.
Yeah.
You know.
What you're doing
and
tomorrow.
people like this, I mean the writer, the guy's name who I forget now, is obviously well respected in the industry. Alan Moore is obviously well respected in the industry. So I think there was that kind of, you know, we're all you know, in the same place at the same time type thing. Let's just.
Yeah, can I come and meet him? Yeah, you got to be in the film though.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what I do.
Yeah.
Right, so this is one of the best scenes of the film.
Yeah,
I think
like
Nichols and Morley, I think they've got their own TV show if they ever want one.
Yeah, easily.
But not a kids' TV show. 9 p.m. BBC Two.
I'd say 10 p.m.
Yeah, and I would watch that.
Yeah.
I won't go into it too much, but I think they stole the show.
Especially later on. Yeah.
Oh, it's me in it. Sorry.
Oh, back to Dillane.
So next, Fletcher investigates a nightclub in which Jim died. Upon questioning nightclub bouncer Alton Carnaby, Fletcher learns about a band where a guy dresses up like Hitler, a walking chessboard-like lady called Monica Beardsley, and a merciless drug dealer called John Conqueror, all of whom were at the nightclub at the time Jim died. Fletcher leaves his number with Alton just as Clive from the hospital phones in.
I loved
a short sentence there. That was good.
I loved Alton Carnaby. I was stood there.
As well done.
Actually, no, I was over there.
Incredibly annoying, but extremely well played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could see him chatting to Dalboy.
Yeah.
You know, like I could see, yeah, Dal, I was over there now, I was over there actually.
Yeah.
You know, it was that sort of, almost that Fools and Horses kind of vibe to it. And and also as he's talking, you get the flashback, so you sort of get introduced. It's almost a bit Cluedo-like, you know. Well, they were there, and they were there. So suddenly we've got a few more little leads for Fletcher to sort of follow up on and chase up. And, I could have done a bit more Alton, but I'm guessing he was probably doing a lot of other things as well.
There's a lot of characters in this film, so you've got to bear in mind there's a budget that comes with, you know, it doesn't matter how high you are on the spectrum of acting, you've got to get paid. So there's a a level to how much they can spend on actual actors when you've got all the other production that's got to go on with it.
But I did like that. I thought he was a cool character. Again, I could have him just as another show, just being a security guard, doorman, bouncer.
Well, that kind of. I mean, I'm trying to avoid saying this, but this to me, the whole film feels like it would make a really good TV series. But we'll come on to that.
Yeah.
All right. Fletcher returns to the hospital where Faith has awoken. Her mother and father, a priest, arrive and are not happy with their filthy ways.
Some of this I have toned down from what was said in the film.
Yeah.
Fletcher pops in after they leave, offering her coffee. He introduces himself as Steve. Faith is a bit confused and doesn't know what has happened to her. She explains how she nearly did herself in with a choking game. She said it was what happened to her when she was unconscious that scared her. She was in a horrible working man's club with two old-time comedians who are like God and Satan. Fletcher explains how Jim said her name before going into surgery. Upon seeing the picture, Faith reveals she was dancing with James in the club. Fletcher notices that he did not tell James's name. They leave the hospital looking for the club. St. James End, aka Jimmy's End, all the time being watched mysteriously on CCTV.
Yeah, which is the Flash Avenger.
Yeah.
We've seen him watch it anyway. For that one, they just hold it back so you don't see him. So maybe that was just chucked in, but he wasn't available. But again, this weird sort of dreamscape, and the St. James End, okay, Jimmy's End Club.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose, that one, isn't it? But
yeah, God and Satan, and it just looked a bit weird. Although I'd probably go there for a drink. Just sort of,
we've been to worse.
Yeah, I know. But that's one of those. It looks like one of those places. You might not like everything they do, but if you went there, you'd have a story.
Yeah,
for the
you'd
night.
have a good night.
Yeah. So, obviously, we call up our trusty cars and arrive there at the same time, and it's the same taxi driver as before, and they arrive at the club, but it's derelict as it's burnt down in the 60s or 70s, as the taxi driver said. He reflects that there were quite a few dead when it happened. So obviously, after all that build-up, they get there, it's derelict, so they head back to Faith's flat. Fletcher gets Faith to tell him her dream experience. She remembers the club is seedy, dancing with James, being put in a corset, and then all of them being on stage together with the comedy duo Metterton and Matchbridge. Then the lights got brighter and she woke up in hospital. Fletcher asks Faith if James was wearing a cross and she begins to question him. He states to her that he's a private investigator and that he's looking to return the cross to its rightful owner. He further explains how James got the cross to begin with by beating up the other guy's wife and stealing it, etc., which we covered earlier. So again, weird dream stuff again, just sort of going over it and recapping it really for her, and how freaked out Faith is by everything. Fletcher doesn't seem that freaked out by anything, really, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He's taking it all in his stride at the moment.
Exactly. It's exactly which is a bit. It's jarring because we're already getting the idea that he's a no-nonsense professional. Professional what we're still not clear on, and yet he's fully buying into the fact that if James didn't have the cross on in Faith's dream, then the cross wasn't there when he died, which, you know, is not something you'd immediately leap to, in my opinion.
I guess we don't know what he's been involved with in the past.
This is true.
This is when I was starting to get a little bit of the sort of the Dale Cooper vibes from Twin Peaks. You know, the Carl McLaughlin kind of, that the FBI, where all the weird stuff happens, is like, you know, I had a dream last night and this happened. I'm going to write it in my book and go to this town. You know, it's sort of a little bit like that, but this is a bit more, dare I say, a bit more weirder maybe. Go David.
Okay, so that night the Flash Avenger finally gets a match on his picture of Steve, so he's done a sort of Google search, face recognition.
Data analysis,
revealing Fletcher Dennis as his true identity. Meanwhile, Fletcher, sorry, it's just the laptop's gone into screensaver mode. It's annoying the corner of my eye. Let me just
take it off of it.
I can't. Well, if I could, it doesn't matter. Meanwhile, Fletcher returns home and asks his roomie, as in roommate, not roomie as in big, asks his roommate Brendan about a band where the singer dresses up as Hitler. Brendan reveals that the singer is Herbert Sherbert and that he lives around the corner. We then get another look at Fletcher's painting again before it changes, and he finds himself in a dream where James protests his innocence. Fletcher wakes up and sees Becky in a bloody meat coat walking along, and then she's dead. Yeah, so she's wearing some sort of weird meat suit.
White coat, meat suit, yeah.
It was another dream. Woo! He wakes up and he goes to see Herbert Sherbert. Herbert invites Fletcher in and shows him his posters and music. He then meets Faith in a cafe, who has researched the comedy duo Metterton and Matchbridge, who appeared at Jimmy's End. During the chat, Fletcher receives a text message saying, "Dennis, I believe these are yours," alongside lots of pictures of assassinated people. He ignores it in front of Faith. Faith reveals a dedicated website on the comedians, which is run by Alton Carnaby's mum. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this. In this section.
Herbert Sherbert was weird.
Yeah, I mean, I get really pissed off with that as well. If I was like wanting to get information, the guy comes in the other chat and then starts recording and mixing your conversation.
It was his posters though. Were they facing the walls, or was they're just blank? It could be anything, man. Yeah,
that's the real wanky student thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm sure we knew people in back in the day.
We're all thinking of the same person right now. But yeah, freaky character again. You know, like you say, everyone's a little bit left to centre in this, aren't they? So it's, and I like that. The dream within a dream. Thank you, John Landis. Everyone does it now. I was a bit upset at that because I didn't want her to die because she was my favourite. And
have a feeling, yeah.
And then it was a dream. And then and then obviously he's getting these mysterious texts. Who could be sending them?
Yeah.
Right, following a chat with Elton, Fletcher talks with Monica, who reveals James had the cross on the night he died. Monica reveals the Voodoo crew were around when it happened. Fletcher travels to the Bird and Bottle to talk to John Conqueror, who reveals she knows who Fletcher really is, calling him King Death. She points out You've got respect in certain circles. Sit down. They then discuss the night James died. John notes that James had no cross when she saw him. Fletcher then returns home and eats with his roommates. They discuss Mettaton and Matchbridge. Fletcher's phone rings and it's Mr. Bleecker, who is tracking Fletcher's progress with finding the cross.
Yeah, this is a cool bit because obviously we have this John Conqueror build up, and then it's a lady, which was and just the fact she knows who he is. Oh, you're King Death, and it's like, oh, what, another name, and you know they respect him enough. There's not the usual fight or nothing. They just sit down. We'll talk. We respect you.
Yeah, I did like the. I can't remember what the three things she says, or the two things she says before it, but it's like. Because she knows who he is, and it's like, I have contacts in the underworld, or words to that effect, and broadband. It's like...
no, it's good. And again, she was quite scary as well.
And coming back to the earlier point, the fact that she knows him, you kind of think, ooh, what's he done in the past then as well?
Yeah, because she's the only person that knows more than we do at this point, isn't she? I think. Because
we've not had the
all
reveal
the other characters,
at this stage.
Yeah, I like that. You don't often get that anymore. Normally, it's the audience who have the advantage. People are scared to like put them at a disadvantage with knowledge sometimes, and things like this. But anyway, Faith awakens in a dream where she is back in a hospital bed in a nightgown. She's been taken to night court by the police. When she protests about what she's wearing, the lady police officer informs her, "You should have thought about that. Having a father for a vicar won't help you down here." Faith is led along a corridor and into the court, where she's greeted by a court full of burlesque-like ladies, brightly coloured arrays of people in the court gallery, a sexy police lady, almost like a stripper police lady, I don't know what you'd call that, and lots of others. And I'm sure at one point there is one shot of the gallery of all the people, and I'm sure the woman sat there is I've forgotten her name now, but she did Derek with Ricky Gervais, and she's only in that one shot.
Possibly.
I forget her name now. She does stand up and all that on her own, but so Faith is also suddenly dressed in a gold backless dress that she wore the night when she danced with Jimmy, whatever, and the lawyer describes her, among other things, as slutty. As the kangaroo court unfolds, Faith gets more distressed. To keep her quiet, they roll a plastic bag up into a ball and stick it in her mouth. The court is then presented with a depiction of Faith's character via animal performance. Things don't look good for Faith when she receives a bad sentence, but then awakens and rushes to meet Fletcher. Faith reveals she saw a rear view of a skinless woman's torso, like on the back of Becky in his dreams earlier. So again, lots of weird imagery and stuff going on here, and just balls out surrealism, really.
Yeah. It almost felt a little bit surreal for surreal's sake, but in the same token, it didn't go on for too long, so it's not. I can forgive it that.
I think the clown lawyer bloke has been in things.
He's been in lots of things, from adverts through to various sketch shows and all sorts.
But again, they've dreamed. The main thing is they've dreamed. Well, apart from the fact she just gets completely character assassinated. I don't know if they were just trying to crack her as an actress at some point with some of the things they were saying to her, but and make a corpse or something. I don't know, but but the main thing from it is they both dreamed the same thing about this woman's torso meat jacket type thing.
So there's a link there.
There's a link.
There's
somehow.
more going on than just random dreaming.
More than meets the eye.
So Faith and Fletcher start driving. He asks her if she knows anything about the lightning bolt image he receives, but she pleads innocent and knows nothing about it. They visit Frank Mettaton's old abandoned house. They find nothing. Faith falls asleep driving them back and sees Match Bright and various characters from the dreams drive past them in a car. And then she nearly crashes, I think.
Yeah.
Upon arriving home, Becky is outside, scared as there is a man around the corner who has been stood there for hours. As Fletcher goes to investigate, 50s noir music starts, and it's revealed that the man is actually Mickelson and Morley Detective Agency doing the old standing on each other's shoulders trick in a trench coat. They present Fletcher with a folder of information in receipt of their caffeine-based payment.
Yeah, this was classic. It's just how scared she is, and I like that bit of like, who are you actually? I've had a bad day. And like, he was ready to throw down because he's had a stressful day, and that's the first time you see him almost lose his cool.
Kind of any emotion.
Yeah, any emotion. Then as he's ready to kick off, he realises it's Mickelson and Morley, and yeah, and I like the little self narration as he walks away, but the other guy doesn't hear him, so he has to give him a knee.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, sorry, and all that. Yeah, those again. They are stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some really nice little touches throughout this film, and yeah, those two are good.
Yeah. Upon investigating the folder, Fletcher realises he has not been told the truth by Mr. Bleecker. It turns out his murdered daughter is actually his wife, and she was having an affair with James Mitchum. Fletcher confesses to Faith his real line of work, a hitman, or as they prefer, an exit technician. Yeah, like that. Faith is angry at all the lies Fletcher has told her, but sticks with him as he is a better option as to what is happening to her. Yeah.
Yeah, so we finally, or what we believe is the truth, but I do like that exit technician.
Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, he's actually annoyed now because the thing, well, as we find out in a minute, what he's been hired to do isn't what he's hired to do,
Yeah.
and he's a man of principles.
Yeah, this has got a Grosse Point Blank vibe to it in this bit,
Yeah.
where John Cusack's explaining to Minnie Driver about, you know, if I turn up at your door, there's probably a pretty damn good reason I'm there.
So as Faith sleeps, Fletcher hears Matterton singing and sees him singing in the garden on the swing. As he runs down the stairs, he is in dreamland again and a phone is ringing. He suddenly ends up at the St James End Club, where he orders a glass of smoke that Mr. Matchbright pays for. Matchbright introduces himself, mocking Fletcher's aliases, and sort of calls him every name that we've seen him called in the film. He notes Fletcher
Is
a singularity that nobody knows exists apart from the devastation he leaves behind. James Mitchum is also in the bar and is worried Fletcher will kill him. Fletcher assures him that things have changed. There's a little chase around the bar and Fletcher ends up backstage with Matterton, who explains all he has now is a plot. And Patsy Bleecker is not telling him the truth about himself or the heirloom. It's almost like you get this bit there where Matterton was that choice to recruit Fletcher, but Fletcher reveals that he is the Zen archer and is sworn to the elimination of all falsehood and illusion. Matterton doesn't like this, saying he hoped they would get on and be pals. Glass shatters and Fletcher wakes up in bed. And then Fletcher and Faith prepare for their showdown with Bleecker. Fletcher calls Bleecker and reveals he knows he has lied to him, so will be taking the cross as forfeit as his terms and conditions were not met. Bleecker expresses his disapproval at this, quite colourfully.
Yeah.
And as they travel by cars to the nightclub, we see the Flash Avengers suiting up and logging on for a night of action. Fletcher leaves Faith as bait for Bleecker. Herbert Sherbert is playing at the club, and soon Bleecker arrives, and it appears initially that he takes the bait from Faith, but comes back and grabs her as a hostage and takes her to Jimmy's End. Again, expressing his opinion of her in many colourful ways.
Mm-hmm.
As I say, Bleecker continues expressing his dislike of Faith, and Fletcher's in no mood for negotiating when they catch up with each other. Fletcher takes out the henchman, whilst Bleecker continues to rant his disapproval. The Flash Avenger is also watching online on CCTV. And then in the big showdown, Bleecker makes Faith get down on her knees and he's about to shoot her when Fletcher takes him out of a catapult as the Flash Avenger watches on CCTV.
So this was the first point I noticed
The Dennis the Menace
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really annoyed at myself for that as well. Because the jumpers were constantly in. You know, there was more than one obvious shot of the jumpers, and obviously his hair as well.
He says he used to have a dog at some point.
That's right. The dog is the Nash just mentioned, but yeah, I just didn't. It wasn't until the catapult that it clicked into place, and I'm really pissed off about that. Because that's normally the shit I notice quite early on. Anyway, sorry.
That's right.
Yes, there's a lot to unpack here. So this whole singularity thing is, I kind of felt it's almost like the bloody thing from Blade Runner, the old Rutger Hauer's nonsense monologue.
I didn't mind that.
He made it up on the spot, though, didn't he?
Oh, he did.
He made it sound good.
I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, but it kind of, I don't know, it just went on a little bit in my opinion.
Well, this is the bit I think where they're trying to like almost, this is your, you know, pick up your lightsaber and join your father, Luke, and then but obviously they didn't realise he was the Zen Archer. One of his another nickname. This man has a new name every.
I don't know.
scene.
I just took it as another bit of misdirection away from what's really going on. Is it's like because we've got a different taxi driver now, and he's going on about not virtual reality.
Like the game all the kids are playing,
the simulations and the games. So you're thinking, so it's like is that where this is going? Is it?
Yeah.
Are we actually not watching real life unfold? We're watching a game unfold or something. So. But again, nothing wrong with it. Just there's lots of these little misdirection points dotted throughout the film as it goes along.
But Chris Fairbank as Mr. Bleeker, like they just let him cut loose on this, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know if it was on him
perfectly.
or it was just some of the stuff.
Yeah. When you want that kind of character, he's the man you go to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, well, Alan Moore. I think he did really well, and not belittling him as a actor, and because I don't actually know if he's done any acting before, but I really liked him in this.
Properly felt like an old school vaudeville style.
That he's been around the block and done it many times.
Properly embodied that character.
Yeah.
Like symbolic with the hair, like the moon shape as well, because we've seen that moon all the way through it.
Yeah.
So is he someone who's been watching the people that are watching? Who watches The Watchmen? You know what I mean? It's that sort of. Yeah, no, I was. Yeah, he stole that a little bit, I think. And again, that is. I'd like to see Metatron meet up with the captain from House of Thousand Corpses, because I think they'd have a great time, and they look very similar in their own ways. Captain Spaulding, that was it. Yeah, so we get that. Then we get the showdown. And he doesn't waste time either, does he? Really, he just takes him out, clean it. There's no running around.
There's no big battle. There's no end of level baddie style nonsense.
I just like the bit as well when he's got both of them, and he's like, "Oh shit," because he knows
he's fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fletcher feels now he's cleared up. He will hang around as the club down below doesn't like loose ends, and that is exactly what they are. As they walk away, the flash vendor deletes all the footage of Fletcher's activities, keeping him out of the police radar. Bleeker arrives at Jimmy's end and is greeted by Metatron. Bleeker is upset as he realises he is dead. Metatron informs him they saved him.
They saved him.
Alright, Metatron informs him they saved him the best seat in the house.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
And then the curtain sort of drops, doesn't it? We see the sign, the curtain drops, and
it's a bit of an abrupt ending. To be fair, I don't know. I thought there'd be a little bit.
Reminded me of the
resolution on the cross.
Reminded me a bit of the old Silencio, Drive, that sort of.
Yeah.
And you're left wondering. But no, yeah. So, Bleeker met his end, but. Like you say, it's almost like a bit like a pilot. There's other things there and they don't like loose ends, so they're going to come for him or whatever. And now there are some short films that were made just
Leading up
before
to
this,
this,
with, with certain characters in with the same people. But if you want to get them, they're like anything from £40 to £80 on DVD. Because I think it was like one print run, and it's like, yeah,
they're not even on BFI.
nah, they're not even on anything where you can find them otherwise.
Because normally those type of short films are on the BFI website, and they're a couple of quid to watch.
Yeah, let's have a look. And
Not with these.
And there was another one. There was a special which I think is Australia, and it was this with them in a box set with a book. But I think it was £800.
Jesus Christ!
But that's that's the value of it, because it's he keeps it and doesn't overdo it or anything. So that's Alan Moore's ways. But we will find it at some point. I'd like to see, because the first one is. Faith's one of them. There's one on Jimmy's End, and then there are two others. I'm hoping one of them might be the Flash Avengers, so we get the story there and whatever else. But yeah, okay, we'll go round then for our thoughts. Paul.
I thought there are a lot of good scenes in the film. I really like Tom Burke. I watched that thinking, I just really like this guy. It was nice seeing how he just absorbed everything, as we mentioned. But at the end, he came and gave us the hard, I wouldn't say hardened, cold killer, but it's hard to think of that.
A kick-ass hero
with a slingshot. I found it really awkward to watch. It didn't flow at all. It felt like I would have enjoyed it more as a storyboard, if I'm honest. Because, like you mentioned,
I don't know what that means.
So I can see this more as a comic, because the points that you made, and I don't know who actually did the what's it? Not story writing, the before they make screenplay. But I can imagine that Alan Moore, in my head, I can imagine Alan Moore doing all of the different storyboards for this and putting all of the posters there for his reasons and all this kind of stuff. But if you're reading it or looking at it in that way, I think you could absorb it better. In my head, I found a lot of it rushed. There's just lots of names, lots of different characters that can't really be fleshed out, and I found that annoying too.
See, I liked a bit of that, because I think sometimes when you watch the sort of detective, I suppose it is. What would you call it? Is it? Yeah, it's a detective thing. A lot of time the only people you meet are relevant. Like, oh, this is them and this is them, and then it's one of these three people's the kill, or whatever. Whereas I quite like all the random people that.
But there's so many.
Yeah, well, I didn't mind that.
Whoa! You're asking me?
I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I just said I didn't mind that.
Right,
for me.
fine.
It sounds great. It's a
I'm
conversation.
happy for you.
It's a two-way conversation.
It's all right.
But for me, there's no substance to a lot of the characters, or the ones that I really wanted to see more of. You get them for like a short clip, and because I think that's the most difficult thing. Where it's a film, you don't have that time, and as I mentioned, I'd love to see the kid detectives in their own thing. I'd like to see more about Fletcher Dennis in his own thing, and also there seemed to be this undertone of hell and heaven, which I think if it was a series of comics or a series on BBC, they could either really flesh out. You got hints of what it could be. Mm-hmm. They didn't say it's definitely this. Didn't say it definitely isn't either. And yeah, I liked what it could have been. I think more than what it was.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, I think there's lots of good scenes in it. Lots of the acting I really liked. Some of the performances that I didn't necessarily like, but that's because of the characters, like the female flatmate. I first watched that and I thought, is she just a bad actress, or is that just a ditzy character that she's being made to be? But it was probably absolutely done for that purpose, you know. But yeah, there's lots of chopping and changing, and for the runtime, I don't think you got enough out of it for me. I don't get me wrong, I know you guys love the pad and pens and writing down everything. I just like to enjoy a film sometimes, and if this was a series, then I think, you know, I probably would have enjoyed it more because they could have delved into it a bit.
Yeah, I think that's
more
what
detail.
I mean. I'll get into one in a minute. But that's one of the things I like about just sort of replying to that is you can see. you can see that.
Not arguing. I'm just replying.
You can. I'm building on what you said. You can see the potential, like you say, of going back and picking up those threads of these other characters and exploring it, and that's what I want now. I need more of this.
Yeah, but I don't want to watch the film again. But I would quite happily watch an elongated series if Netflix or someone were to pick it up. I'm not paying £80 per DVD for some of them, but no, that's what I mean. It was almost like a really good pilot for what could come.
Yeah, 100%.
Damien.
Okay, so it reminded me a lot of Neverwhere.
Oh yeah,
The way the story is told, you know. So if you haven't seen or read Neverwhere, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna spoil anything. But you're not gonna know what I make is gonna make sense. None of what I say is gonna make sense. But the way that story is told is they visit characters where they're already the characters. You don't get the backstory or anything of the characters. You're just getting what everyone else knows everyone in the story knows who they are. So you just got to roll with it. You haven't. There's no time necessarily to, you know, explain who the Angel Islington is or who. Bernard Criven's played him in the TV series, but I've forgotten who he is now. Anyway, there's none of. I think what you're complaining about is actually done on purpose.
Oh, it might be. It might
not
be.
Worry the viewer. You kind of got to watch it and go, well, you know, these characters know who.
And in real life, is. Not that this is like real life, but in real life, that's absolutely it. You bump into someone at a nightclub. Yeah,
exactly.
And
I
don't
get the backstory, so that's it. Certainly, 100% reminded me of
cause
just the content, but the way it's told reminded me of Neverwhere.
Because I like the I've forgotten her name now, the black and white checkerboard lady. Said, you know, because we all had that when like you had those people there. You knew who they were, but you didn't know them.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Know, you kind of get that, and then you know there were characters, you know, like same trousers. Or whatever, you know what I mean? Everyone had like names for people that you didn't know, but they were always there, so you knew them.
So you're right, Tom Burke.
Yeah,
he's pretty much good in everything he's in.
Yeah,
and I think to be fair, part of the reason I did enjoy this is that all the actors that are in it do good jobs of what they're playing.
Yeah.
So you know, had this been played by a group of unknowns, like a proper independent made film with like, very low budget, it wouldn't have worked because each actor brings something to the table, and that helps carry the film, especially Tom Burke. The characters in there all need their own series, so this should be a pilot for a much longer, elongated, like 3 or 4 season world that expands, and you get to understand that, you know, what St James's End is, why the 2 comedians have somehow got control of it, and all that sort of stuff.
That
would
to reply. And I think you're absolutely right. It could be 3 series of just this one timeline, and then you've got a prequel. And then you've got
not even that. It's just
no, but it could be.
There's so much.
There's so much in this universe. That
richness of character and variety in characters in it that it could make some very good episodes of television without needing to be diluted or made to appeal to a particular audience. I think there's just enough in there that it would fly. Which is, and But to be honest, well, I mean, they could still make it, but I very much doubt that they would then get Tom Burke back in it. I mean, it's now probably a little too much like the character he plays in Strike, except Strike only has one leg. But yeah, it's going to be very difficult to see him doing. He plays Cormoran Strike in a detective series on BBC One to then play almost a detective type, because that's what this would turn into for his character, because he's going to need to be investigating what's going on and will still be trying to find the cross. So I don't think you would get him back. But other than that, I think I really did enjoy it. You are right. It's like there's some pacing issues. It probably didn't need to be as long as it is, and frustratingly, like I say, I stopped paying attention to the signs and the posters in the background. But apparently, if you were doing that and reading the dialogue at the same time, you get a lot. You get a lot more out of what's being said on screen. Apparently,
when I watched it this time, I watched it with the subtitles on. Just because there are certain bits as well, like where they say it fast, right? You pick up a few more little nuggets here and there. Not loads, but just sort of.
But I like the amount of misdirection there is in there about the you think you're watching a story about a detective, and then that switches and he's not a detective. But there's, like I said, about the guy, the taxi driver, talking about simulations and the computer games and stuff. So you start sending your mind down that route. You've got just some random characters.
There's a few bits on the radio as well thing, and you had the whole comedy comedy duo backstory where they fell out and then got back together or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's basically Dudley and Cook,
Peter
Cook, isn't it? That's what they based those two on, all their story on anyway. So yeah, I
then the most polite mouthed gangster ever. Is this your bit of minge or something?
Something like that, yeah.
We've all known people like that. That's right.
Yeah, and it doesn't work if you use it as a compliment either.
All right, Summers, over to you.
Again, just building on what everyone said, really. I just think this is such a. I really, really like this because I went in totally blind, and it just bombarded me with everything I like. I liked the wide range of characters. I liked all the different things. I liked the fact that we met people who necessarily weren't relevant, but we got a little bit about them anyway, rather than, as much as I like some of the other shows, like even Death in Paradise, you only meet 4 people on that episode, and one of them's the killer.
Yeah.
Whereas here you meet loads of people, and then Herbert Sherbert, he kind of comes in, has his moment, and at the end he's singing in the background, but that's him done. He's not.
And it's the same with the girl in the checkered dress. You think she's going to do something when Faith is kidnapped, but she just watches it happen and then gets on with her night. You think, she's going to screw this. She's going to screw this up.
He did have the cross on, didn't he? Or something. She saw him with the cross on.
Yeah, but then after that, she doesn't do anything.
You're like, no.
Yeah, because you think, she's going to. It's the plot that Dennis has patched to get Thingy back to the nightclub. She's going to somehow screw it up by trying to fight outside to stop her getting kidnapped. But no, she doesn't.
Yeah, so it was all. Yeah, I just like the wide range of characters. Everyone had something else going on, as well. None of it felt forced. Or now we need to meet the best friend, or now we need to meet the roommate, because it was like today. It was just I forgot his name now, but it was just like the roommates you meet when you used to do all that stuff. It was like, oh yeah, right, and he was just there. Oh, do you know the band? The guy just like, oh yeah, that's Herbert Show. Yeah, I know. He lives around the road. And I couldn't quite get it, but there was definitely something to do with all the instructions of where to go, all the directions. Because I think if you go through them, I reckon he just keeps going around and it was like, it's up there, then you turn right, then you turn right, and you go straight on. Then the next one was like, you come out, you turn right, then you turn left. I haven't looked into that yet, but
maybe he's making a cross.
Oh, it could be. There's something,
so maybe
because they're all really
you put that on a map of Northampton, you end up with a cross.
Yeah, it could
maybe
be.
That's where he's hidden the DVDs that cost a fortune.
Yeah. But it was like there was just something. I think there was something there, but I haven't had the time to dive into all that yet. Obviously, The Dennis the Menace thing was very cleverly done. I thought, again, the first time I watched it, it was about the same time you said. Because I thought at first Freddy Krueger in the dreams.
Yeah.
Because he's the striped jumper, but I was in dreams, Freddy Krueger, or whatever. Then with the catapult, and then I was at the hair, and I thought, yeah.
It's even like the very beginning. It's like the guy says, "I like your hair," and you just don't pick up on it.
You're not listening. And the other thing I liked about him was he had no reason to give any aliases at all to begin with, because no one knew who he was. He could have just said, "Oh, Fletcher
that's
Dallas."
how he keeps his mystique, by continuously keeping up aliases.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have really made that much of a difference to any of it. He could say I was Fletcher Dallas. I mean, the one where it did make a difference was when he pretended to be his brother, because he needed that to get in the hospital. But it was just sort of like you give everyone different names, and it was like, but that's what a detective does. That's what a secret agent, whatever. That it's that sort of. That's what would happen, James Bond, you idiot. But there was just so many things. When you again, I've watched it twice properly now, and you do spot little things. Even the Flash Avenger, who basically is there, just clears up all the plot holes at the end. Because you're like, well, surely police or somebody would have known about this, but he's been stopping it all the way through. He's debated whether or not to grass up. What's his name? Fletcher. But then at the end he sees what he's done, so he just deletes it all. So it's just like, so they've got this whole thing, and they don't even know they've had help as well. You know, they don't have to meet him. They don't need to resolve that. It's just all. That's just what the Flash Avenger does now, I guess. But it was really. I enjoyed it all. But again, I'm at the point now where let's build on this property because it's awesome.
Yeah,
and
exactly. It really should be. It should have been a pilot for a TV show.
So I don't even think he's written it as a book. I was hoping it might be the book. Well, I'll get that. And there might be a bit more. But I think this is it. And he did say, what did Mr. Morse say about this? He said, with the show, I wanted to apply the storytelling ability accumulated during the rest of my varied career to the medium of film. So basically, everything he's learnt, he wanted to whack into this.
And that's it. He's not going to do any more to it.
Yeah, that could be it. I've done that now.
If you're listening, Alan Moore, because, we know you're a fan.
Like, subscribe.
we all hated Watchmen and all those other ones too. But yeah, please, Alan, do some more.
Very good.
But okay, time for the votes then. So out of 10, Mr. Hawkins.
I'm giving it a 7.
A 7.
So
cool.
1 each for a couple of the characters I thought were really good and good acting. 2 for the detectives because I think they just stand out. And then 3 mainly for the ability to put so much into the film. But that's kind of why I took away a couple of the points as well. But let's face it, there's a lot going on here. I think other people would have struggled to have made a film like this. So fair play to the director that managed to turn it out in such a way. The only thing keeping me back from giving it more is the points that I made earlier. It's not saying it's a bad film. 7's a good score. It's just that's the reason.
Fair enough.
Okay, Damien.
I'm going 8. So it's my kind of film. I like this kind of stuff. It would get higher if it was a little bit shorter, because some of the scenes either don't need to be there or are just a little too long. But I loved all the misdirection. Unlike Paul, I think there isn't a character in there that is wasted. They just need more of their own stuff in a TV show. So yeah, it's I just went into it thinking I was going to probably not like it, because even though I like Tom Burke and the stuff he's done, this just hadn't been on any radar. So I was expecting it to be either sort of crappy horror or bad sci-fi, and it was neither. So
yeah,
that was good. 8. I say get higher, but there's just a few little things that do let it down, but they're minor things. So
yeah, I think I would go with I'm going to go an 8.5
Ooh.
because I really did like it. I was impressed by it. I think it just loses a couple of marks by the fact that there isn't any more.
Yeah.
No, because it's just, you've got such rich characters to explore there. Now maybe someone might even go, actually, there was a mini book comic series or a novel, but there's only like 10 ever printed, and or whatever. But yeah, we need more of these characters. It was brilliant. It's a lot fresher and original than most stuff that gets chucked out now. And with everyone talking about building multiverses and universes and
This
all
is
that,
it.
you've got one right there.
Yeah, and it takes them 10 films to do it.
Yeah, but this is why I was expecting crappy sci-fi or poor horror, was that, no offence to anyone making that stuff out there, but that's what most British films are at the moment, that, they get a little bit of airtime on people's radar, and it turns out to be a great story, but it's poorly executed. This is a good story and well executed.
And I also got a little bit of, from Fletcher, I got a little bit of sort of, a little bit of Garth Marenghi vibe as well. I was like, well, I am an assassin and I can do that. But he could actually do it, whereas Garth Marenghi was full of bullshit.
Yeah, because I don't like surreal comedy. But this
not sort of just as the character. Whereas Garth Marenghi believes he can do it, this guy can actually do it.
Yeah.
Because, Garth Marenghi is like a self-indulgent idiot as a character. Whereas Fletcher is badass with a slingshot. Because that was when I watched it the second time, as well, just thinking about that's what the second Tim picks up on. But that's why they take the case. Why he goes with them. Because he says something about, he looks at his hand and says, he said, he makes some comment about that, and that's where he takes it, because he identifies that he uses a slingshot or catapult, sorry.
Oh, okay.
But he says something about, your hand. He said, what do you use? Do you use a so-and-so, whatever? And he goes, and he sort of sits down. And well, the first time I missed it, but the second time, once you realise what it is he's got, that's what, second Tim makes a comment about it, and he sort of, and he's literally throwaway as he's going, no, I'm going to go, I think I've made the wrong decision. He goes, do you use that? And he's like, oh. So he's like, he is a detective. He spotted that. And it was like, that was cool. And it's one of those, I think if I watch it again, you'd spot something else that's or in the background, or I'm still waiting to see. I'm sure, as I say, it was, I've forgotten the actress's name now, from Derek Ricky's. I'm sure she's in the court scene. She's just sat there and in frame, and then she's not in any of the other bits, but the first bit you see, and I reckon there might be a few other people who might have turned up for a day and just sat at the bar at the back or something as they walk past or whatever, because it is Alan Moore. But it's geniusly layered. That's the word I want, and we need more of it. So I'm going to go 8.5, losing marks mainly because I just want a bit more of it, and I don't think we will.
No, neither do I.
So that was The Show, written by Alan Moore and directed by Mitch Jenkins, again, who does an amazing job juggling all that stuff. That was this week. Now we move on to next week, which is
me, isn't it?
It's Damien's choice.
So now then, for a very long time, and I mean a very long time, there's been a film that keeps popping into my head, which could be a Hammer horror film, or just simply a horror film that was made around the same time as the heyday of Hammer horror. But I can only remember the very final scene, and I literally the very last second of it. And I watched it when I was a kid, and I could not, for the life of me, remember what it was called, or find out what it was called. Because, like I say, I can remember the final scene, didn't remember much about the plot. So I took to Twitter and I employed the hive mind and described that last scene. And to be fair, it was a pretty crappy description, but it's come back. It's come up good.
Ooh.
So I found it. And I'm really excited about it, but I think I'm probably going to be disappointed by looking at the title screen. But either way, that film is The Asphyx. It's 1972, and it stars Robert Powell. That's pretty much all I know about it. It's on Amazon Prime and it's free if you subscribe to Amazon Prime, obviously. But I haven't looked into it any more than that because I don't want to then suddenly start remembering it and thinking, shit, that was a bad choice. So we're all going to suffer, or we're all going to go, that was a really good film.
Can I read the tagline just to tease the viewer?
Yeah, because I think I've already read that.
It's got, 1972, The Asphyx. A gentleman photographer, Robert Stevens, in Victorian England tries to trap the human spirit at the moment of death. And it's directed by Peter Newbrook, who did a lot of The Corruption, The Black Torment, Incense for the Damned, Crucible of Terror, lots of horrors around sort of the late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. So it sounds like it's in good hands. Yeah,
like I said, I don't think it's Hammer horror. I have this. In fact, the more from what you've just read, I'm pretty certain it isn't. But
no,
either way,
this is like the other.
And
also, if you are looking for it around, it's also known as Spirit of the Dead and the Horror of Death, depending where you might be in the world or in America.
Fair enough, but in the UK on Amazon Prime, it's called The Asphyx.
1972.
Yeah. So there we go. That's your homework for next week. Watch it, hopefully enjoy it, and we'll all report back.
Cool, I haven't done a classic old horror like that for a long time.
Like I say, it's something I watched it as a kid, and that final scene has stuck with me, but not any of the rest of it. And it just every now and again would pop up in my head, so I thought, I'm going to find out what it
cool.
Thanks to the hive mind, we found it.
I'm intrigued with that. I don't think I know that one. I remember the one when Robert Powell dies and then comes back at the end. But that was a bit supernatural. But and when he's with Jasper Carrot. But yeah, that's cool. Okay then, time to enter the shutdown mode. This was the Cult Faction Podcast episode 101, spotlighting on the show, written by Alan Moore. Thank you all for listening. If you would like to contact us, and watching, and sponsor us, click us, and all
like
that
and
stuff.
subscribe.
Like, subscribe. You've thrown me now. Yeah, so if you'd like to contact us about anything that we're doing, saying, getting right, getting wrong, starting strong, starting weak, whatever, please contact us at
cultfactionpodcast@mail.com or leave comments on any of those platforms.
We are available on all the social medias really: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and probably other ones we don't even know. YouTube, where you can watch the uncut videos of this and actually see us flapping around and being abused by a dog. That's all there. Leave comments, share us, like us, please. It all does matter. And you can go to our mothership, which is
cultfaction.com,
which has everything on there. All our episodes, all our news, our articles, our Heroes of Cult, Cult Movie Essentials, our recommendations, everything's on that. So thank you for listening and watching. It's a big goodbye from me, Brad Summers.
It's a goodbye from me, Paul Hawkins.
And it's a farewell from me, Damien Hicks.
See you soon.
Adieu.
Yes, I am. Oh, yeah. Are you ready? Are you ready for news? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It's just you kept disappearing out of shot the other day.
Just for you and me. If you let me love you.
No, but if you're watching something, can you imagine how annoying that is? That it would piss me off.
Do, 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 do. If you let me love you. Are you ready? Are you ready for love? Yes, I am.
You're going to sack me, aren't you? turn up and just fucking moans the moment it walks through the door. You don't do this, don't do that. Fuck him.